Hello, Wagtunes from the KVR forum here. I had a request to do sort of a tutorial. Probably, I've been thinking about this, and probably the best way, for me anyway, to go about doing this is to just dive right in and create a patch. Because for me, the best way for me to ever learn anything was just by doing. When people sit around and start explaining, well, this is this, and this is that, and this is what this is for, it doesn't do me any good. The eyes just kind of glaze over, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. So, if you're anything like me, I think just diving in and actually making a patch is the best way to go about doing this. So, let's just go do it. To start off with, I have absolutely no preconceived game plan as far as what kind of patch I want to make. So I'm thinking of this right off the cuff. This is on the fly. I'd like to use more than one layer. I want to do something that's a little intricate so it gets a little involved so I can cover a lot of different things. But I don't want to go too crazy. So I think, this is what I think I'm going to do. In the base part, in the left hand, I'm going to have a sequence, maybe, arpeggiator, maybe layered over a pad in the left hand. And maybe the pad will have bring up via mod wheel, so it doesn't actually sound immediately. Okay, and the way you actually can split your left and right hands, if you go over here, you'll notice here, keyboard range. Okay, so you can specify for each layer, this is layer 1. Okay, you can specify for each layer what kind of range you want. Now if I were to activate layer 2, now you see layer 2 becomes activated. So if I want layer 2 to be, say, between here and there, that would be layer 2. Then if I activate layer 3, and we'll say we'll put layer 3 from there to, these things are hard to grab sometimes, to there, and finally layer 4 a little stick at the very top of the keyboard range. Now, right off the bat, I have a very small keyboard. I do not have an 88 key keyboard. Matter of fact, I've only got a 4-octave keyboard. So, what I'm going to have to do in order to actually demonstrate this patch, well, I do have an octave switch on the keyboard, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably go into Cubase and just program some notes in there so you could actually hear how this works without me fiddling around with a lot of stuff. If you've got a bigger keyboard, obviously something like this is going to help a lot. But there it is. There's your keyboard splits. And with 8 layers, you can do quite a lot of splitting and layering, which is, I think, a really nice feature. In fact, this is very similar to Omnisphere. That also has 8 layers, which I absolutely love. Okay, so there we go. We have our layers set up. Now we're going to go in and program each one. We're going to do 4 layers here. Actually, we're going to do 5 layers because layer 1 and 2 is going to all go here. That's going to be the ARP and the pad. Layer 3 is going to be a bass line. Layer 4 we're going to make a lead, and layer 5 we're going to make an alternate lead. So, arpeggiator or sequence, bass, lead 1, lead 2. So, if you're playing live, to do this, you're going to need an 88 key keyboard. But otherwise, you could just program your DAW, your piano roll, and you're good to go. Okay, let's get right to it. Okay, layer 1. Well, we're gonna program the arpeggiator. And we're going to put it on. And this should get the arpeggiator sequence going. Okay, great. All right, I'm going to lower the envelope on this a bit. Okay. Let's pick a wave that we want for this. Something, I don't know, maybe like an FM kind of. Let's try, let's see how, okay, well let's morph this up. Alright. Let's bring in a little unison, fatten it up a bit. Okay, let's see, what do we want to add to that? Okay, very easy to add oscillators. Just click on them, go in here, click on where it says basic, bring up your whatever waveform you want. As I mentioned in a previous video, a lot of these waveforms you just have to play around with, because I can't tell from looking at some of these names what they sound like. Yes, some of them are pretty self-explanatory, like sync square, saw square, but something like confused 1 and 2, yeah, no. Vladimir, not a clue. Let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, let's detune it a little bit. Maybe bring down an octave. No, it gets too muddled together. Maybe we bring it up an octave. Okay, maybe throw a unison on there. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to sequence the main pitch. So we're going to go to the sequencer. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of different shapes for each step of this sequencer. They're all down here. You could choose from a variety, and I like this. This is the kind of sequencer that you can get really, really crazy with. But we're going to keep this fairly mundane. As a matter of fact, we're going to bring down the length. I'm not going to make this too long a sequence. I think 8. And we're going to make I'm going to try to do kind of like a blues-like sequence. Let's see. Yeah, once you take your cursor off the, you lose the shape that you were working with. It'd be nice if it would maintain it, but it doesn't. Okay, let's go here to the mod matrix, which is really nice to work with. Sequence A, target pitch course, bring it up an octave. Let's see what this sounds like. Okay, well, first of all, we got to do that mono. We got to sync the beats. 1/8, 1/8. We're all synced up, good to go. That's yellow phone. Okay, we're gonna bring this down a half step. Alright, gonna bring this down too. nice if I could actually see what the notes are. I mean, yeah, I could count the half steps, but too lazy for that. Okay, and one more half step down. Okay, so there we got our little, very simple little blues kind of sequence. All right, we want to kind of alter the timbre a little bit of this as it plays. We could do that either with a mod wheel or with an LFO. I want to use the mod wheel to actually bring the pad up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to LFO A. And we're going to oscillator A morph. I'm going to bring this actually down. Let's see. Gates, not, well, you know what, let's slow it down a little bit. Actually, you know what, let's BPM sync. Try. Nah, it's still too fast. Yeah, a little slower than that even. 4 to 1? Yeah, okay, let's try this. And now we're going to want to put it on mono too, so it goes straight through. There. Nice and smooth. Okay. And we want to morph oscillator B as well. Do we want to use the same LFO or use a different one? I don't know if I want to morph them in sync or if I want to have one going faster than the other. So, you know what, let's do LFO B for oscillator B. And with this one we're going to have, let's see, mono, BPM. We're going to have this one a little faster. Okay, so also bring this down. Maybe actually bring it down a little bit more. Okay, we are back. My wonderful Axiom keyboard locked up on me, which it does from time to time. It and Cubase have a very, very kind of love-hate relationship. All right, so where are we right now? Okay, so we have our little blues kind of sequence. Okay, that kind of shifts its timbre a little bit as it goes. All right, a little dry, so let's do we want a little reverb or a little delay on it? You know what, let's put a little reverb on it. Now there are lots of reverb presets, but of course you could always just kind of fine-tune it exactly like you want. Boy, I'm gonna go for let's go for a staircase. Let's see what this sounds like. Alright, not bad, not bad. Probably tweak that, but like I said, I'm not going crazy with this demo. I just want to basically give everybody an idea of how you work with this thing. The effects, it's really simple. There's 7 effect slots for every layer. You basically just click on a slot. There's an empty one now. We got reverb here. We got we could put maybe an ensemble here. Bring the mix down. This thing is really, ensembles can get really, really thick. And of course course, if you want to switch these, you can put the ensemble up there and the reverb down there. So you can order the effects any way that you like, which is nice. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the sequence as it is. All right, now layer 2, which actually we want layer 2 to be overlapping with layer 1 because this is where the pad's going to be. So we're actually going to move everything up a bit because 1 and 2 is here, 3 there, 4 there, and 5 there. So let's see, that's a bass. Yeah, that should be enough for a bass. And let's see, first lead. How do I want to split this? 2.5 octaves each? Well, I actually don't really. Let's see, do you have a half? Okay, yeah, that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then layer 5. Will be like so. There you go. So arpeggiator and pad, bass here, lead 1 there, lead 2 here. Okay. So layer 1, which is our sequence, is done. So what I'm going to do is, I named this tab to save this because everything crashed. I'm going to double click on here, and this is where you could basically put all your comments, name your layers. The type for this is obviously going to be splitted. Actually, it's split. I don't know if splitted is actually a word, but whatever. Comments can go in here. You put your author there. Any macros here. I'm not going to touch macros for this. Okay, I'm not going to touch them because that gets way too complicated. All right, layer 1. I'm going to put in SEQ for sequence. Might as well do this all now. Layer 2 is going to be our pad. Layer 3, bass. Layer 4, lead 1. And layer 5, lead 2. Apply, and there you go. Sequence, pad, bass, lead 1, and lead 2. Very simple to set this stuff up. This is actually great for doing drum patches. Simple kick, snare, hi-hat cymbals. Really nice. Okay, let's move on to our pad. Okay, now the pad, trying to think, well, we might have to actually bring the tuning up or down depending upon how it layers with the arp, but you know, I'm not going to worry about that yet. Let's just pick some waveforms. Alright, well, first of all, let's go to the envelope. I want a slow attack on this, fairly long release, leave sustain where it is. I'm going to bring, well, let's see, let's go to the, I'm going to bring the pad volume down to start. We could always bring it up, go back. Let's see, let's try Love 1. I have no idea what this sounds like. Okay, so that's, let's see, probably want to bring the semitone up on this. do I want to do unison or just... we're going to want to layer this, so let's try love 2. What the heck? Alright, it's missing something here. Let's try, let's see, maybe we want, let's layer a cello over it. I think I'm going to do unison for the cello. Let me try something here. This up. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to put a chorus on this. And an ensemble. And finally, we're going to really wash this sucker out. That's nice and washed out. Okay, that is going to be essentially our left hand. Well, one of our left hands, because we're going to this is not something you're probably going to want to play live unless you want to switch from the the sequence to the bass part, which we're going to program next. This would probably be something I would throw together to put into my DAW in a track where I could just have a whole bunch of stuff in like one preset that I can play around with. And of course, obviously, I would fine-tune this, just the way I wanted things, but this is just really a down and dirty, here's how you work with this. It's like as you can see, it's really not difficult. If you've ever worked with any kind of synthesizer before, it's just basically taking one instance of a very, very simple synth, more or less, and multiplying it 8 times. It's really all it is. LFOs are LFOs, envelopes are envelopes, a sequencer is a sequencer. This is not rocket science. This is really basic stuff. Okay, let's go to our bass. Now, our bass, now that's in here. Now that's going to be actually up Right now, we don't have any waves. Okay, that's too high for bass. So we're going to immediately bring this down. Now, do I want to have a sawtooth? But I don't think I really want to do that. Let's see, an FM kind of bass? I'm not really sure. Maybe a cello-based bass. Alright, you know what? Let's bring down the envelope on it. Short, kind of short decay. Alright, well, we definitely need to turn that up. Of course, we may have to turn it down when we start stacking stuff. Still too high. Let's go down 2 octaves. Okay, we're going to stack that with, well, you know what? Let's go FM. Yeah, we'll have to bring that down. Let's see, will 1 octave do it? Oh, and since this is a bass, I probably want to do, I don't really want a legato, so you know, we're gonna bring down the number of voices, because I really don't want to do mono legato. Okay. Still missing something. Okay, let's see. Alright, we want to bring that down. Alright, I kind of like what this adds to it. I want to, you know what, we're going to go, okay, these are the, alright, this is where you pull up your effects for your individual oscillators, and there's quite a few effects types. There's tube amps, phase modulation, ring modulation, hard sync, pulse width modulator, phase band, chaos phase. Chaos phase really gets crazy, and it gets kind of noisy, and a noise generator obviously gets very noisy. I'm going to go with simple phase modulation. Now watch what happens when I manually turn up the effects amount. Hit the wrong thing. I was hitting the arpeggiator. It was in the wrong part of the keyboard. Hear that? Okay, so what I want to do is we're going to take the mod wheel and we're going to go to oscillator C. Where is it? Effects amount. Crank it all the way up. And if we play it, we get something like this. Yeah, that's a nice dirty little bass there. I like that. Okay, effects. Let's go to effects slot 1. What do we want to do with this? Well, we could throw some distortion on it. I don't know, that might be a little overkill. Let's bring down the mix and see what this does. That's soft distortion. We can go hard diode. There you go. This gets a little funky. And of course you can adjust the frequency, the boost, post gain, and the drive. lots of different distortions. You can really have a blast with these. I mean, I can get lost in distortion for an hour alone. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, that's nice and dirty. Okay, it's a nice dirty bass. So if we combine the two now, we've got our arpeggiator. There you have your arp, your pad, and I was playing the bass with my right hand. So right there, I mean, right there between the three layers, you got both hands occupied. Now, how are you going to play the leads? Like I said, this is not something you really want to do live unless, of course, you switch from the bass part to a lead part. And in a sense, I guess you're kind of using the bass as a lead. It's very, like I said, you can really go crazy with this thing, and I can, if I really want to, trying not to. I'm just going to take a very, very short break, and I will be right back. Okay, we're back, even though it seems like I wasn't gone. Alright, we're now going to move on to lead number one. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do, well, after I turn on oscillator A, is I'm going to go over to here. Oh, we're already over there. Okay. And we're going to put on mono legato. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do this for lead number 2 as well. And lead number 2, we're going to crank up the glide. But lead number 1, we're going to leave it off. Okay? Cool. Now, as I was saying before about my keyboard, it's only 4 octaves, so I'm going to have to do the old keyboard octaves flipperoonie here to actually access this part of the keyboard. Let me just see where that is right now. Alright, there we are. So that would be... Yeah, but that's way too high. So what we're going to do is... we're going to crank this down about 2 octaves. Yeah, alright. Now, I think what I want to do for the first lead, oh my goodness, I wonder what iced tea sounds like. Okay, that's kind of interesting. How does it sound morphed? Ooh, I like that. I like that. What if we do a little unison on that? Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to throw the old mod wheel on that. Oscillator A, morph, I don't do 100%, we'll go up 75. Okay, I like that. Alright, oscillator B, what do we want to add to that? And also we're going to bring this down 2 octaves. So to get it into what the playable range that I want. Probably lead 2, layer 5, we're probably going to only drop 1 octave. And I'm not even so sure about that. It depends. Oh, what do I want to layer with this? What does Chucky 3 sound like? Okay, this looks like a very ugly wave. What if we brought that down yet another octave? Unison on that. I like it. Alright, now the question is, do we want that to play all the time? Or do we want to bring it up with the mod wheel while we're morphing oscillator A? I think we want to bring it up. So, you know what, we're going to do this. We're going to go mod wheel on oscillator B volume. And we're going to crank that up to about 50, about midway. That should pretty much do it. Oh, and by the way, if you hear any like funky little like jumps in mod wheel, whatever the word is I'm looking for, it's because the mod wheel on my keyboard is shot. It has a bug in it, and I have to get it fixed. Except I really don't want to do it without my keyboard. What happens is about not even a third of the way up the keyboard, I'm sorry, 1/3 of the way up the mod wheel, when you move it, the MIDI message basically spikes from like MIDI value 3 to like 127. It just bang. There's something wrong with the hardware. So if you hear anything that doesn't sound quite right, it's not Rapid, it's the mod wheel. Now, I have a workaround, actually. What I did was I assigned CC001 to one of my levers, on one of my sliders on the keyboard. The problem with using it is it's so far away from the mod wheel, and it's kind of a pain in the neck to work with. But I have to do it when I'm actually recording. I don't have a choice. But for right now, I just assume not. Anyway, let's hear how this sounds with the bringing up oscillator B volume with the mod wheel. That's pretty cool. Alright, we're going to go to our effects, dual delay. I love the dual delay. It is just absolutely, it just really brings anything to life. Okay, so there is our lead number 1. Alright, now let's go to lead number 2. I want something that contrasts with that, something that doesn't sound anything like it, maybe something a little bit more mellow. So let's go to, see, basic waves 3. Let's see, that's kind of a... Alright, well, first of all, this would be... Are we actually there, first of all? Now, we're still in lead number 1. We have to go up yet another. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit the octave switch again, and that's as far as I can go. Alright, that high pitch squeal, that's lead number 2. Okay, so now we really got to crank that down. Let's try 2 octaves. May not be enough. Well, let's see. Okay, yeah, there's a split. Alright, yeah, that's good. Now, if you want, you could actually bring that down yet another octave, because the leads don't have to actually blend together as long as you know where each one is starting and ending, because it's going to sound pretty stupid if you went and got to there and it went, instead of up to the next note, actually went. See that? You could actually tell the lead split. But if you want to play them as actually two completely separate leads, and you're going to program this in your DAW and you're not going to play live, well then it doesn't matter. And which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to bring this down 3 octaves instead of 2. Going to do the same thing with oscillator B. Let's see, oscillator B, RM1. Well, that looks kind of. And let's see if we morph it, what do we get? That looks kind of cool. That's kind of loud too. Alright, that's almost starting to sound like, you know what. Alright, do we want to bring this down? Well, once we actually add the delay to it, and we're going to use a different delay. Instead of the dual delay, we're just going to use regular delay. We're going to put it on ping pong. Alright, glide's a little extreme. Let's bring it down just a smidget. There, okay. There's enough of a contrast between the two. Now, we want to actually do some modulation on this lead as well. You know what, let's modulate both. We'll use phase modulation on both. I don't even know what this is going to sound like, but you know what? Let's go for it. Oscillator A, effects amount. We're going to just crank it all the way up. Oscillator B, effects amount. Crank that all the way up, and let's see what this actually does. Alright, this is lead number 1. And this is lead 2. Okay, that's 1. And that's 2. So we've got a nice little mix of stuff going here right now. Alright, there you have it. Those are basically your 5 sounds. You've got a sequence and a pad over, where are we? Oh, there it is. We got a sequence and a pad here. You got your bass here. You got lead 1 here and lead 2 there. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the actual programming of this conglomeration for another video. But I just want to briefly just kind of sum up what I did here. Because like I said at the very beginning of this whole thing, programming this synth is not, don't be intimidated by how much stuff is in it, because it's still just basic synthesis. You've got your layers. Each layer has 3 oscillators, okay? It's no different from anything else. You've got the tune, you've got unison, you've got effects that you could put on the oscillator. You know, there's a lot of things you could do, but it's nothing different from anything that you've done with any other synth. Okay, it's not, yeah, and you'll notice I haven't even touched the filters. For any of these sounds, I haven't even touched the filters. I've never even gotten into them. I mean, there's just so much you could do just by effects and effects modulation on your oscillators that if you didn't touch your filters, it wouldn't even matter. Of course, obviously, adding filters to the mix, then you get even more variations on the sound color. That's in probably another video. Effects, again, very simple. You've got 7 slots. You've got a number of effects. A number of effects. Well, let me save this before I forget. We're going to overwrite. I just called it test. Obviously, if I was doing this for a, an actual preset for one of my libraries, I would be putting a lot more time into this. I would be tweaking like crazy. I would be making sure that every single wave was exactly like I want, but we're not doing that here because then we'll be here all day. Just trying to show you how basically simple it is to work with this. The LFOs are basic LFOs. You have your, your speed adjustments. You've got your shape. I didn't even get into crossfading. You could actually have 2 different waveforms for your LFO and crossfade between the 2. Your sequencer, as I pointed out, is extremely powerful. You could have up to 32 steps and a number of different shapes for how your notes go from one to another, and some of this stuff gets really funky. The arpeggiator is a basic arpeggiator. If you want to go up an octave, then you would take this from there and move it up there, and that note would go up an octave. If you want to go down an octave, it would be like that. Again, it's really, really basic stuff. Please don't be intimidated by this thing. Honestly, it's much easier to program this than something like Falcon. It took me a while to wrap my head around all the things you could do with that. Now, obviously then, having said that, this is not quite as flexible, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. I mean, I could see that when they made this synth, they actually made it to be easy to use. And I can honestly say that it is. And maybe that's part of the reason why they didn't want to have importing of waves and things like that. They wanted to keep this simple. I think that part, as far as importing waves, I think that's something that we can handle. I don't think it's that difficult. Anyway, that's it. Really simple. If there's something particular you want me to go over, just make a post on the forum about something, and I will cover that specific topic in detail. Because all of this stuff can get very, it can get convoluted, especially the sequencer. I will briefly just show you that there's not a lot of filter types. As you can see, there's a few low pass, a few high pass, band pass, multiband, couple of peak, notch filter, and there's some, vintage legacy, analog, there's a comb filter. Yeah, I'd like it if there were more filter types, but you know what? This is fine. This is more than good enough. It's fine. The effects, I wish, you can make some really nice organ sounds with this, so I wish that there was a rotary. There's not. That kind of bugs me. It's a minor thing, though. Okay, anyway, that's it. I'm cutting this video short now. Again, if there's anything you want to know in particular, anything you want me to go over in detail, just post your requests in the forum, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Alright? This is Wagtunes, KVR. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of it. And you have a great day.